Excellencies, distinguished guests, it's wonderful to see such a full room. I will just let you know and thank you, the colleagues, for joining us online. This is going to be a hybrid event. So I'd just like to remind everyone online just to keep your microphones off. We are excited that there will be space for discussion time. So when it gets to that point, please do raise your hands or put some questions and comments in the chat, and we'll be able to facilitate your participation. We are just waiting for the Executive Secretary and His Excellency, the Ambassador of India, to join us in the room. But while they are on their way, I will hand over to our online team and they can play a short video that will help set the scene for today. And also, just one point, if you do have struggles online, please do reach out to Natabon in the chat. She will be able to support your participation. So thank you again for everyone for joining this meeting, this side event on the last day of this commission. It's wonderful to see your faces. And as you know, this is titled Resilient Coast, Enhancing Disaster Preparedness Through Regional Cooperation. And this event is co-organised by the Government of India, together with UNESCO, Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, and ESCAP. So we're pleased to have you, and we'll just play a short video, and by then our high-level delegates would be joining us in the room. Thank you.
Many of us didn't know what is the tsunami.
There was no early warning system, and so that's why a lot of people lost their lives.
In the morning of 26 December 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami struck more than 10 countries in the Asia-Pacific region, including Thailand. Thousands of lives were lost and entire communities were swept away.
The preparedness issue to a tsunami is not there. That's why the casualty is until reaching 230,000 people.
The Asia-Pacific region is home to 2/3 of the global population and continues to be the most disaster-affected region in the world. Following the Indian Ocean tsunami in 2004, it was evident that transboundary problems require solutions that reach across borders. ESCAP's Multi-Donor Trust Fund for Tsunami, Disaster, and Climate Preparedness was established in 2005 with a visionary contribution of $10 million generously provided by the government of Thailand. The trust fund works to advance the region's collective, people-centered, and interoperable early warning systems in coastal risk hotspots that are emerging or intensifying in the 2 decades since the tsunami.
The interesting from the ESCAP Trust Fund is that they are not only looking at one aspect, like maybe the upstreams, the systems, but also looking at the communities. The ESCAP activities is actually also help us in terms of not only building capacities, but also to identify good practices. This is something that can be used by others in terms of replicating the good practices.
The trust fund has since received support from 14 additional donors and co-financiers. 23 Asian and Pacific countries have directly benefited from the trust fund.
It's also important that no one country can do it alone. So that's why it needs international effort, need ocean basin-wide effort. And thankfully, we got that.
The trust fund has achieved significant results in addressing the unmet needs in multi-hazard early warning systems for low capacity, high disaster risk countries.
After 20 years, the system is established well, following the concept of the IoT, Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation Systems, where we have end-to-end tsunami warning system, particularly for the community at risk.
The Tsunami Trust Fund has been instrumental in establishing RIMES. RIMES is involved in end-to-end early warning, we are looking at from the scientific perspective of data availability to forecasting to making information more usable to societies and communities?
We have a very coordinated international effort to develop ocean basin-wide systems.
The challenge, the continuing work, is that we respond such that every person will be able to act so that everyone will be safe.
Looking forward, the Trust Fund continues to evolve with the dynamic needs of the region and global priorities within the United Nations Pact for the Future, the Sendai Framework, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
Together, we can save lives and build a more resilient tomorrow for our people.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to this side event hosted by the Government of India titled Resilient Coasts, Enhancing Disaster Preparedness Through Regional Cooperation. As you've just seen in this video, the Trust Fund was established in 2005, and since 2019, we have been working actively with the Government of India on a program called Strengthening Tsunami Warning in the Northwest Indian Ocean through Regional Cooperation. This program is being implemented by IOC UNESCO. This initiative is also partnered with multiple countries in the region in Northwest Indian Ocean who are ESCAP members as well as non-ESCAP members. And we are proud that this shows the importance of regional cooperation in advancing scientific hazard modeling, strengthening national tsunami early warning systems, and promoting community-level preparedness to safeguard urban and coastal resilience. So just before I pass on to our opening statements, I also want to thank and acknowledge the 20 countries that are represented with us online today. So it's wonderful that we have such a broad participation in this room as well as virtually across the ocean basins. So without further ado, I'd now like to invite Ms. Amita Salsia Alice Jabana, Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of the Economic and Social Commission of Asia Pacific, to provide your opening statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency Ambassador Mr. Nagesh Singh, representative of the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services and the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, Advisory Council members to the Trust Fund for Tsunami, Disaster and Climate Preparedness, esteemed colleagues, friends, very warm welcome to this very important side event. Just to give a quick backdrop, yeah. The Asia-Pacific region is facing a new normal marked by increasingly frequent and interconnected geophysical and climate-induced disasters. These overlapping crises are further exacerbating vulnerabilities and widening existing inequalities. Earthquakes are now occurring alongside intensifying climate hazard. Recognizing that many disasters in Asia and Pacific are transboundary in nature. So therefore, this relates also to ESCAP priorities, yeah, in our work on supporting also our dedicated program on disaster risk reduction. This specialized focus of ESCAP on DRR has enabled us to promote this cross-border cooperation and multilateral solutions to mitigate the human as well as economic impacts of disasters. The Multi-Donor Trust Fund for Tsunami, Disaster and Climate Preparedness was established in 2005, so that was 20 years ago, yeah, to support transboundary early warning and preparedness solutions for tsunamis in Southeast Asia as well as the Indian Ocean. It has since expanded its mandate to cover multi-hazard coastal resilience across Asia and the Pacific. The Trust Fund remains a key South-South as well as triangular funding mechanism owned by the region and for the region, as well as has facilitated the South-South, yeah, South-South as well as South-South triangular cooperation. I wish to take this opportunity to extend my utmost appreciation to the government of India through ambassador here, and in particular to the Ministry of Earth Sciences for the generous contribution of 500,000 US dollar to the Trust Fund for Tsunami, Disaster and Climate Preparedness, as announced by the Indian delegation this morning. And the financial contribution of the government of India to the Trust Fund, I think India also, earlier contributed, and we hope that the further contribution from India would be to further expand our collective learnings on tsunami preparedness in the Northwest Indian Ocean, and even in broader, to also to broaden the multi-hazard preparedness across the region. With this new contribution and looking forward, ESCAP will ensure that together we continue to evolve with the dynamic needs of the region and global priorities expressed in the UN Pact for the Future, Sendai Framework, and the UN Decade on Ocean Science, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I take this opportunity to also thank and extend our appreciation to the governments of Sweden and Thailand as co-founders of the Trust Fund, as well as to the governments of Italy, Philippines, and Switzerland, who have joined the government of India in making generous and supportive contribution in the past 12 months. With the continued leadership of this advisory council to the Trust Fund, we are confident that our ambitious goals of achieving early warnings for all and seeing that 100%, hopefully, of at-risk communities are tsunami ready will be realized, in not to a distant future. Once again, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude for hosting this event, especially to the government of India, and for the commitment to scaling up collective regional action for disaster preparedness. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our Executive Secretary of ESCAP for her remarks. I now invite His Excellency Nagesh Singh, Ambassador of India to Thailand and Permanent Representative of ESCAP, to share your statement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Madam Executive Secretary, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and namaskar. I thank the ESCAP and the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO for organizing this timely deliberation in collaboration with the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. Disaster preparedness has been accorded utmost priority in India in recent years. Government of India, for its part, has worked tirelessly to improve access to early warning systems for the 1.4 billion people in the country. Landmark changes have also been brought in our financing architecture to support the entire spectrum of disaster risk management, including mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, and reconstruction. Natural disasters cannot be predicted. However, our response preparedness must remain unwavering. We have also long recognized the critical need for regional cooperation in disaster preparedness, particularly for multi-hazard early warning systems to save valuable lives and resources. We are supporting scientific cooperation, institutional capacity building, and investment in early warning infrastructure across the region through various bilateral and regional mechanisms. In the recently held 6th BIMSTEC summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated India's steadfast commitment to help the disaster-stricken countries in the region as a first responder. He also proposed the establishment of a BIMSTEC Center of Excellence for Disaster Management in India, which will facilitate cooperation in disaster preparedness, relief, and rehabilitation efforts. The widespread loss of life, livelihood, and infrastructure in the 2004 tsunami in the Indian Ocean region was a grim reminder of the vulnerability of the coastal communities and the criticality of coordinated long-term preparedness across Asia and the Pacific. Since its inception in 2005, in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami, the ESCAP Multi-Donor Trust Fund for Tsunami, Disaster and Climate Preparedness has demonstrated enduring regional commitment to enhance access to multi-hazard early warning systems. As a result, 23 countries in the region have directly benefited through building regional and national end-to-end warning systems for coastal hazards through initiatives under the Trust Fund. India has made significant co-financing and technical contributions as well as in-kind support to the activities under the Trust Fund. This included the $1 million contribution to the Trust Fund pledged in 2015. We are pleased to announce, as has been done earlier, and as Madam Executive Secretary, you mentioned, that India has again committed to make a one-time contribution of $500,000 to support ESCAP's efforts to scale up DRR activities in the region through the Trust Fund. We support the UN Secretary General's timely global initiative on early warning for all by 2027. During India's G20 presidency in 2023, in order to give added impetus to DRR activities globally, an initiative was taken to establish a dedicated working group on disaster risk reduction with access to early warning for all as one of the priority areas. We hope that our efforts will help to sustain the momentum of cooperation at the global level. Apart from this, Government of India is also working closely with UNESCO's IOC to implement the Tsunami Ready Recognition Program to implement community-based tsunami preparedness in vulnerable areas in close cooperation with local and state governments. We are also supporting the ongoing initiatives under the UN Decade of Ocean Science to improve data-driven coastal management. As urbanization intensified along coastal belts, the need to integrate disaster preparedness into development planning have become more pronounced. Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, a multi-stakeholder global initiative led by India, is bringing about transformation in the way we plan, design, build, and maintain risk-informed infrastructure systems. The coastal regions of Asia and the Pacific are vulnerable to a range of natural disasters. Over 68 million people are exposed to tsunamis and other coastal hazards. These risks are compounded by urban expansion and environmental degradation. This often makes disaster preparedness not just an environmental issue, but also a humanitarian and a developmental one in our region. I thank the UNESCAP and other partners for their sustained and holistic efforts to build more resilient coastal communities and infrastructure in Asia and the Pacific to withstand the challenges of today and tomorrow. I thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Please join me again to applaud these two high-level speakers. I know you have very pressing schedules today, but I'd like to take this opportunity just to photograph this moment, especially for the Trust Fund, and to thank your government. So if you allow our photographer just to take a quick photo of you both together. Yes, please. You wanted to? You can. Standing there is fine. Yes. Please join me in thanking again His Excellency and her Executive Secretary. Thank you. Now to continue setting the scene, I know that we've already heard a lot from those remarks in the video at the beginning. If you allow me, I will just share a little brief, not only on behalf of ESCAP, but also on behalf of our co-organizers today, thanking INCOIS as well as UNESCO IOC. Next slide, please. I'll tell you things we already know. We already know that Asia and the Pacific is the most disaster impacted region in the world. We already know that LDCs and SIDS account for 5 times the mortality when it comes to disaster fatalities in the world. We know that economic losses from disasters are on the rise. And we know that our population is rapidly urbanizing and coming to our cities. Now, the disaster risk reduction section of ESCAP works hard at looking at disaster risk analytics, and we look at the hotspots around our region that we need to focus our attention. We're very pleased to work together with UNESCO IOC. Yes, sir. Thank you. With UNESCO IOC and looking at the coastal risk hotspots. What you see on this map is not only tsunami risk, but also within the context of multi-hazards. Countries that live along these coastlines are facing not only tsunamis, but storm surge, flash flooding events, coastal erosion even, as well, while our cities continue to grow. So here we've estimated that for ESCAP member states along our ocean basins, along the coast, we have 68 million people who are exposed in this multi-hazard risk hotspot, as well as $2.4 trillion worth of our building stock. This is just an example of why it's so important, and thank the Government of India for joining us today on this special event on Resilient Coast. Next slide, please. This is also why the trust fund was established. We've already heard a lot about this, but just to make the point that moving ahead in the 2025 to 2030 agenda, the focus really will be on the compounding, cascading, and complex coastal risk hotspots that our region has. And this is where we'll be looking ahead with this renewed contribution. Next slide, please. Now, we have been active for the last 20 years as the Trust Fund, but the world has been very active in looking at tsunami warning systems. And we all take 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami as a real milestone to think about where our efforts really did change and catalyze. So how far have we come in the last 2 decades? Here you will see the different coordination mechanisms for tsunami warning systems around the world. We're very pleased that the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning Mitigation System, a lot of the colleagues are here with us today and online. And this system is made up of our regional tsunami service providers represented by the Government of India, as well as the governments of Indonesia and Australia. We also have the Pacific Tsunami Warning System, which is also very active for ESCAP member states and considerably large. Next slide, please. We're very proud to be supporting both the IOTWMS and the PTWS, or the Indian and Pacific Tsunami Warning Systems, another acronym for everyone. ESCAP has been working closely ESCAP has been working closely with these mechanisms to look at a capacity assessment. How far have we gone with each of these mechanisms in the last 20 years for IOTWMS, but also 60 years for the PTWS? So the IOTWMS capacity assessment has been completed, and you're welcome to download our policy publication. We also have some copies here if you like a hard copy of this publication. And the Pacific version is ongoing this year, which we're very proud to be working with them on as they commemorate 60 years of activity. This was also supported by the governments of Switzerland and of Italy. Next slide, please. Some of the key findings, and just to put this in some of our colleagues who are working on early warning for all language, I won't go through this in detail, but you can see for yourself. We know that significant achievements have been made. Looking at the last 5 years alone, there's been such big progress on downstream community awareness and preparedness initiatives. And this is something that all countries are applauding themselves on, and rightly so. However, we see that there has been a plateau with our upstream warning and detection systems, where the improvements haven't yet realize the technological advancements of today, and there's a lot of room for potential to grow. Some of the other big main points that I'll pull out is there's been impressive development in terms of public awareness materials and the Tsunami Ready Recognition Program and even the schools program. I recognize the colleagues from UNDP as well in the room here today, but there's still such a strong appetite from a lot of local communities to realize their standard operating procedures around tsunami preparedness, have local materials in their own languages, and have curriculum in schools really reflect what we understand about coastal hazards. Next slide, please. So what have we been doing and what are the reason we're here today? You will hear a lot from our panel discussion that's coming up soon, but just to present the Strengthening Tsunami Early Warning in the Northwest Indian Ocean has been a very impressive program of work that we've been working together with UNESCO IOC for many years. For those of you who are unfamiliar, in 1945, there was a tsunami event in the Makran subduction zone. You can see on the map here, thousands of people lost their lives. When we consider the growth of the coastal cities along this coastline, and we expect that something like this could happen again, we know that it will be devastating. So I really applaud the countries who are involved in this work for really taking a proactive stance to tsunami preparedness, such an infrequent and often invisible, forgotten hazard. Next slide, please. Taking a programmatic approach. We're very pleased of the progress in this work, starting way back in 2019, but often earlier, I think some colleagues would say, when we started to realize this work. We looked first at the risk. Scientists from 10 different countries came together to analyze the risk. Does it really exist? Will the tsunami happen again? And then also we trickled down to the national level. We have SOPs, so standard operating procedures for 5 countries that have been improved, as well as evacuation maps for some key cities. And just last week is this photo, a brilliant tsunami evacuation mapping planning workshop that was hosted at INCOIS. So all of this work is going from the regional level, from a consensus basis, all the way down to the local level. Next slide. And we're very pleased as well, under this theme of urban resilience and sustainability, we have to focus on our cities along the coast. It's quite an ambitious task. If you want to click again to the next slide, this is where our countries are projecting to pilot Tsunami Ready program. And it's a big populations that we're covering, really complex evacuations that we're trying to realize. But I just also wanted to show the population increases in these areas have really boomed. So we know that the risk is still underlying, but as we grow our cities, the risk and our exposure also grows. So it really is an important time to tackle these issues. Next slide. But just to zoom back out and to give you where we are, where does this fit? Just to highlight, we have our UN Ocean Decade, where we have this goal, 100% of at-risk communities to be tsunami ready. Under here, we have our Tsunami Ready program. You can see there's 12 indicators, and this all also aligns with the Early Warning for All initiative of the Secretary General. So as I close, I will invite our esteemed moderator and the panelists to come onto stage. And while they come, we'll also play a short video, and you can see how these programs all come together at the local level. Thank you. I think if you click play within the slide. Thank you.
In 2004, there are limited information about the tsunami. Even though in Indonesia, we already have the observation system of the earthquake, but at that time, the system is still not yet integrated well. After the Indian Ocean tsunami, it became the motivation for our country to develop the tsunami early warning system from the upstream to downstream, meaning from the observation to the last mile to the community. We have conducted many activities program related to the tsunami awareness as well as the tsunami preparedness. We call it a Tsunami Ready community program. It implements the 12 indicators of Tsunami Ready that should be doing by the community that had been set by UNESCO IOC. We are very active to promote this program. It is also to contribute to the global initiative of the UN Ocean Decade.
Thank you, Timothy. We are pleased that experts who have joined us today are representatives from Northwest Indian Ocean Working Group, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services from India, and Intergovernmental Coordination Group for Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System. And we'll be highlighting the ongoing efforts in enhancing coastal urban disaster risk resilience through regional coordination in this Northwest Indian Ocean region. To open this panel discussion, please welcome Mr. Nasir Saeed Al Ismaili, who is online, and will be discussing the tsunami preparedness as a basis for multi-hazard coastal preparedness. Mr. Nasir Al Ismaili is the Director of Forecasting and Early Warning System from National Multi-Hazard Early Warning Center of Oman. He is also Vice Chair of Northwest Indian Ocean Group of ICG IoT WMS. To Mr. Nasir, so please share your experience of working through this project and how was working on tsunami preparedness helped build momentum for tackling other hazards in coastal areas.
Thank you, Sunanda, and thank you for having me here. I would just like to start by highlighting the importance of this project, which is Trust Fund for Tsunami. And since its early beginning, it was like concentrating on the raising awareness on tsunami posed by like Macron subduction zone and the other hazards like the PTC panel for tropical cyclones as well. So it was like concentrated not only on one disaster, but in multi-hazard approach. And raising awareness on tsunami was not only targeting public and communities at the time, but also to the decision makers as well. So that's in fact actually encouraged like the inauguration of many national multi-hazard centers, like the case in here in Oman, and many other like national warning centers in the Northwest Indian Ocean. So after that, as we have seen, like the concentration was conducted for the development of the warning chain and the dissemination, and also more importantly, the standard operation procedures for this national centers. Also, due to this ESCAP projects, we have had like many bilateral agreements in terms of data sharing, in terms of experience, and also to the projects and studies that have been conducted throughout the coastal areas along the Northwest Indian Ocean region. And in fact, moving on, like after that, we have had like we have concentrated on many like risk assessment, also to inundation maps and how do we like generate this one. That was supported by many workshops that was in fact in collaborative approach with the IOC, UNESCO, and ESCAP project as well through this trust fund. Also, we have had like many, after that, we have concentrated in the evacuation plans, and not only for tsunami, as I've mentioned, or even for like what we're having here, like the tropical cyclones, because we probably have similar impacts in some cases. So that's why we have to build it in this multi-hazard approach. And also, like we have seen due to these efforts, collaborative efforts that we have reached to the community level and through many initiatives, including like Tsunami Ready program, which it's like 12 in the key indicators.
Thank you so much, Nasir. You have taken us all of the project brief, and we are very happy that you could explain the whole thing in such a short span. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for sharing these insights with us. Dr. Sudhir Joseph, whom I work with him at INCOIS, has been a focal point in working with the 26 communities in Odisha to make them tsunami ready. He's the head of applied research and research to operations group of the INCOIS. I'm very glad that he could join us here today. So, Dr. Sudhir, from your perspective, what difference has the Tsunami Ready program made for the coastal communities? And what lessons can be drawn for scaling this model across the high-risk cities?
Thank you, Sunanda, for your question. In fact, it is very pertinent question. And when we looked at the 2004 tsunami, the nature was playing its role that the survival of the fittest. But by Tsunami Ready program, we are making sure that the survival of the weakest. So when we looked at the coastal villages of Orissa, they were already having a lot of issues from the cyclone disasters, storm surges, and also there was a kind of local knowledge, to certain extent, how to escape from these disasters in the local knowledge. That got integrated with our warnings, protocols and the UN protocols. So it became like a cohesive, effort, and it became somewhat easier in Orissa to handle this situation and make them as tsunami ready in a rather faster way. So we started with 2 villages and then we proceeded with another 24. So total we have 26, and they are very ambitious plan of enhancing these numbers in future. And similarly, we have started in Kerala. So there the complexities are slightly different. We have coastal communities sandwiched between the sea and the coastal backwaters. So there are complexities there, but we can, if we work together, we can resolve all these issues. And when we come to the cities, the lessons learned from these previous experiences will help. There are certain positive about the cities, that the high-rise buildings are there, which need to be made sure they're strong foundation, and that they can be used for escape. And also there are complexities like the narrow city routes, and also there are floating population which need to be adhered, which need to be educated with. So all these complexities exist, but still we have to persist, and that is what we reached up to this stage. I'm sure with this continued effort, we can make sure that even our cities are safe and tsunami ready by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir. It was so insightful to know like your plan from starting from a smaller community, then how we can approach this for the bigger communities like the cities. Thank you so much for that. Now I would like to invite Dr. Srinivasa Kumar Thummala. He is head of Secretariat of ICG IOTWMS based at Perth, Australia. I would also like to tell like he was the key program manager for us in India to establish the Tsunami Early Warning Center at INCOIS. So to Dr. Srinivas, I would like to ask, how is the Ocean Decade and associated programs are helping to support coastal cities as they work towards becoming more resilient in disasters like tsunamis? I also have one more. Could you please share with us the example where Ocean Decade science or ideas have helped with any local planning or resilient work in coastal cities?
Thank you very much, Sunanda. Let me take this opportunity to wish Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and a very good afternoon. And then also thank ESCAP for making, and the Government of India for making UNESCO IOC a part of this important side event. So coming to Sunanda's question on how the decade is helping with what we are trying to do with disaster risk reduction more broadly, and then also specifically to tsunami. You've seen from Temli's presentation this morning that 2004 has been really, the tsunami event has been, it's been a landmark event in some sense, actually. It has brought together everybody, all stakeholders, all governments, all, everybody together to actually, reduce our vulnerability, to come together, establish warning systems, and then make sure, we are safe from such hazards to the extent possible. Because these kind of events keep happening, but then we need to build up preparedness at all levels, early warning systems to the community preparedness to make sure, we don't face such humongous loss of lives. So UNESCO IOC was then given the mandate in 2004 to work with all relevant stakeholders, member states, to establish warning systems. And It's a bit of a history now that we have, 4 regional warning systems working together. There are about 130 member states out of the 150 member states of the UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanography Commission who are part of this global system of systems. We are about 12 tsunami service providers globally, 3 of them within the Indian Ocean region, working together to provide warnings to all vulnerable coastal communities. Now, thanks to these systems, thanks to the collaboration, international, regional that we have had, we now, all the member states have benefited from enhanced risk assessments. We have heard about what happened in the Makran region, thanks to the ESCAP Trust Fund project. There is an enhanced understanding of the Makran tsunami hazard, say, for example. So the member states have that additional scientific knowledge today. We all have additional observing systems. We all have, community preparedness, improved community preparedness through initiatives such as Tsunami Ready. Now, we've heard so much about Tsunami Ready several times already. That it's very important, this program, because it puts communities, people in the center of the entire warning conversation that we are having around early warning systems, basically. It's not always the technology. Technology is very important, but then putting communities in the center of all of this and then having certain prescribed indicators that can actually measure the preparedness and response capabilities of these communities. Now, that's what Tsunami Ready is all about. So we've done well on those fronts, but then much more recent events like the 2018, Sunda State tsunami, the Palu tsunami in Indonesia, and more recently the 2022 Hunga Tonga, Hunga Hapa events, which were actually triggered by non-seismic events like volcanoes and submarine landslides. Now, they have thrown huge challenges at us as a community, at the scientific community, and then at the disaster managers on how we need to handle such hazard. And now there is a lot of focus, and the UN Ocean Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, in short called the Ocean Decade, has come at the right time, starting from 2020, which will go on until 2030. And one of the main challenges, there are about 10 challenges. One challenge talks about increasing community resilience to coastal hazards. And one of the outcomes of the 6 outcomes is to actually achieve a safe ocean, actually. And so under that, one important objective is to enhance the accuracies and reduce the uncertainties of tsunami warning from all sources. And then the other thing is to achieve tsunami-ready communities, actually 100% tsunami-ready communities. Now, under the calls for action under this Ocean Decade, there are about 25 projects that have been put forward, which talk about the use of GNSS data, use of smart undersea cables, and also, talk about enhancing hazard assessments and so on. So these projects are working towards, enhancing our, community preparedness. And then one good example is the Tsunami Ready Community Recognition Program. So I'm sure, we'll all be working together in achieving those tsunami ready indicators, those 12 tsunami ready indicators in all our communities, and making sure that, that particular example we can actually really spread it out to all vulnerable communities in the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Srinivas, very, very insightful thoughts. As one of the lead in developing the Ocean Decade Tsunami Program, I think you and your team might have addressed this coastal resilience of cities in your plan. Thank you so much for that. I now thank our panelists, Dr. Srinivas, Dr. Sudhir, and Nasir, for being here with us today, for your insightful thoughts, and thank you so much for that. I now would like to welcome reflections and questions from the floor. From the floor first, and before turning on this online participants, if they have any questions, please put it in your chat or you can raise your hand.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists, and of course, previously the Executive Secretary and the PR from India. My name is Sean Sharp. I'm the UN Resident Coordinator in India, based in Delhi. So wonderful to see colleagues here. I just simply wanted to, it's not a question really, just a comment to reiterate the from the ground view of the UN development system, UN country team in India, to reiterate how absolutely important and impressive is the advancements in India in terms of the early warning systems for all agenda. And we've seen obviously India is one of the most exposed countries because of the coastline and floods and cyclones and tsunamis and all of that. But because of this whole of society approach, we've seen that India has managed to reduce the mortality, certainly cyclone associated mortalities, by something like 90% in the last 15 years. So we in the UN system, the agencies have already spoken here today, but others, UNDP, UNICEF, really it's a whole of country team. We're humble partners with the government of India in this, really helping to ensure this whole of society response. We've had a number of convenings, international convenings in Orissa. We were there. We got to see the cyclone-ready municipalities and villages there and see how they're doing all of the preparedness work. We were just in Bhuj, Gujarat as well, and engaging with fishing communities and really seeing that it's this continuum of the late, very cutting edge technology in terms of early warning systems, but it's also the preparedness at the community level and engaging all of the sectors, civil society, the Anganwadi centers, which are kind of community health centers, and the community child care centers, so that everybody is aware of the planning and what to do, and warning is given, but the warning is then acted upon by all actors within society. So just to say, it's really, really impressive to go and see this in action and to recognize, I believe India is investing something like $30 billion in disaster risk responses over a 5-year period. So truly, truly important investments. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all these observations from India where you have been, and especially again emphasizing the tsunami ready villages in Odisha. I think now when you go again, this would be the one you would observe the most during your, including the Gujarat. Gujarat is also implementing now the tsunami ready. So thank you so much for these observations. If any other questions from the floor? Now we'll take questions from online. Jamal, if you have any questions, could you please read out?
We have hands raised from participants joining us online, Dr. Mukhtari and the Inquiry's office in Hyderabad.
Okay, we'll start with Dr. Mukhtari. Mukhtari, we're very glad you are here. Please go ahead. Dr. Mukhtari, you are on mute if you are here. Okay, we'll start with inquiries. The second question.
Yes, congratulations for conducting a very good side event. The panel discussions were, I think I could really enlighten with many of the thoughts from the esteemed panelists. My question is to Mr. Nasser Al-Ismail. This is regarding the Northwest Indian Ocean, when we are actually planning for an clear the operational early warning systems for the tsunami. One thing what we can think of a kind of a operational observation systems for the tsunamis, especially for the Makran subduction zones. As you, so what is your insight, or what is your suggestions or opinion on that proposal?
Nasser? Nasser, this is for you. Yeah, I request if any other panelists would like to answer this question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bala, for this important question. I think Nasser. So I'll just try to answer this. So see, having an operational observing system is actually very important, like you mentioned. And then so that actually forms the basis for all our warnings. So be it tsunami buoys or tide gauges or seismic stations. And then Nasser also in his earlier comments mentioned about the exchange of data. See, many a times there is a lot of observing stations, but then there is not enough exchange of data. Now, those are some things I think we need to work on very closely between the member states, and then also the data exchange within the member states and between the TSPs, so that they'll be able to detect earthquakes and tsunamis in a much more timely fashion, because tsunamis are such a very short fuse hazard. So we need to work together to make sure that we have proper, operating, observing networks. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivas.
Yeah, Nasir, if you are here, yeah, I could see. Would you like to add anything to this question?
Thank you, Dr. Srinivasa, for commenting and answering the question. So I was just at that time not able to open my camera because the restriction wasn't here. So as I've mentioned, the bilateral agreements is really vital in this process, because it's really give really improvement in the systems of the observation, of the analysis of the earthquakes, and also the implementation of other observation tools. Like we have had in Oman this, what we call it, WIRA project, which is taking care of the currents that are coming towards the coastal areas of Oman. Not only that, also we have had the tide gauges, the observation tools that we are sharing all that with the IUC UNESCO sea level monitoring website also. But I think we really need to have more collaboration in these terms. We have had already made many agreements or many bilateral agreements with stations with other countries like Pakistan, Iran, and now we are in the process of doing that with India as well, as you may know. So I think this is really vital and we have to enhance it more. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasser.
I think my sound is okay now. I can talk if it's possible. Sananda?
Yes, Dr. Mokhtari, you can go ahead. Please ask you a question. Okay. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. I just want to have a comment. I'm really happy to be back again in the family. I think that's a great Northwest Indian Ocean family that we have worked together so long time from the beginning of 2005 in a way that has been so much work conducted in that area there. I mean, yeah, let's have to discuss before and even during that short meeting which we have. I don't want to go through there, but I want to one thing emphasize very much, very important. That is the phase 3 of this ESCAP, and I would like to really again thank the ESCAP and the team for really initiating, for really taking that the newly born Macron baby into be a very nice active child now for really looking at the disaster more scientifically and also more accurately. Therefore, I would like to ask everybody in the meeting, I would like to ask the people who can hear my voice to go ahead with the phase 3. That is the most important part. That's what it is. That's now all this work has been conducted. It's going to be transferred to people. It's being transferred to the people who need it. Therefore, this is the kind of one of the most important steps that is planned for 2025 to 2027. Therefore, I would like to ask everybody in this room, everybody who's hearing, to really to think about that and to plan on that aspect. Shavinas as well as other ones we appreciate, and Timile's work as well has been really instrumental on really going through all those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mokhtari, for your information on this project and taking this phase 3 forward. Thank you so much for that. Pa Aditu, please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sunanda. So, first of all, I would like to thank the government of India for their timely needed contributions to enhance the coastal communities, especially to be tsunami ready in the coastal and part of the coastal resilience. My question is, I think small island developing states are one of the among most vulnerable to ocean coastal hazard, and I think very rightly said by Tamili in her remark. However, they also see tsunami hazard as not as a high priority. So what would be the best strategy in terms of implementing tsunami ready in these coastal communities? Thank you.
Any of the panelists would like to add anything for that?
Yeah, thank you, Aditya, for this question. I think it is important to add this multi-hazard dimension to this tsunami ready and stress upon that, so that even though once tsunami can be considered as the mother of all disasters. So once we are prepared for tsunami, then it is naturally the preparedness is useful for other high frequency, low impact hazards also. Like what we have heard from Kerala fishermen, that when they are facing day-to-day the fury of ocean, then why we are worried about the future or maybe something which comes after 80 years or 100 years. That question can be clearly answered and get them take them into confidence that once you are ready for tsunami, you can also be ready for the other hazards. This way, I think we should be able to take care of that concern in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add a comment to what Sudhir said, I think it's a good thing to do it in a multi-hazard framework, because a lot of island countries, island states, they're actually, they have this problem. They're very low-lying. They're much more vulnerable to high waves, swell surges, storm surges, and so on and so forth. And then tsunami, if they're actually really prepared for a short fuse hazard like tsunami, and I'm sure they'll be, like, for example, if they're tsunami ready, they should be able to, technically, deal with any other hazard, which is actually, which gives much longer time to respond and react. So I think multi-hazard is a good way to go forward with small island developing states, as well as for other, other countries who actually where the tsunami threat is other basins where the tsunami threat is not as frequent as it might be in some other ocean basins. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope it answered your question, Aditya. Thank you for bringing these small island development countries to this panel discussions. Thank you for that. This brings us to the end of panel discussions. I would like to thank all the distinguished panelists here and to Nasir, who will join us in person, but thank you so much for joining us online and sharing your insightful thoughts with us in your perspectives. With this, I would like to hand back to our MC to facilitate the closing session. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking our esteemed panel. Thank you. And I realized that we started 5 minutes late. We'll probably end a couple minutes late, but we won't finish before hearing a closing statement, especially from the founders of the Trust Fund. So I would like to invite a closing statement from the Government of Thailand, Kundwan Napa, Director of Research and International Cooperation Bureau for the Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, following the devastating 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, the government of Thailand proposed the establishment of the ESCAP Multi-Donor Trust Fund for Tsunami Disaster Climate Preparedness with ESCAP as our partner and manager of the trust fund. The primary goal of the trust fund was help create resilience within community through building up of tsunami early warning system. Its mandate had since expanded to cover multi-hazard program approach and geographical to cover the coastal hotspot in Asia Pacific. The initial of 17 million US dollar contribute from the 6 donors, namely Sweden, Thailand, ADB, Italy, Switzerland, and the Philippines. Until now, the additional amount of more than 34 million
mobilized through the additional co-financing in various projects since then. I would like to thank the government of India, in particularly Ministry of Earth and Science, for hosting this side event and for renewing their contribution to the trust fund this year. Matching Thailand contribution announced in November last year, I also take this opportunity to acknowledge the other 10 donor countries support the trust fund and would encourage others to join us in this unique South-South and Thai-Agora cooperation mechanism to promote early warning for all. With the new 25 to 2030 strategy for the trust fund to be continued to complement and catalyze national effort to ensure the Asia-Pacific region is safer, stronger, and more resilient. Thailand believes that all the cooperative effort on disaster risk reduction should complement one another toward the ultimate goals of strengthening resilience for the people, especially to promote the all-risk among our coastline. The ongoing work includes our partnership under the ADMER work program, principally for the ASEAN Coordinating Center, AHA Center. Globally, Thailand has been closely involved in the development of Sendai framework for DRR and the Bangkok principle for implementing the health aspect for Sendai framework. After the Myanmar earthquake this year, Thailand has improved our warning system and speed up the self-watch care system via mobile phone, which will be conduct the emergency alert test for 3-level scale of disaster. On the 2nd May, for the small scale of disaster in Bangkok also, and for the medium scale on the 7th of May, include Bangkok, and the last big scale disaster in 13 May. So you will hear the mobile alert, but don't be panic about this one. This is a testing system in our country. Thailand also conduct the 28th commemoration of Indian tsunami in Phang with the collaboration of the ASEC, AHA Center, UNDP, and European Commission. It implements the National Disaster Risk Management Plan with, along with the Sendai Framework, SDG, and Paris Agreement. And it is also include the anticipatory action, which include the preparedness, the opportunity of end-to-end early warning system in our region. Lastly, I would like to thank the hosting, the ESCAP, the UNESCO, and also the government of India in COIS and all that hard working for conduct this side event for the fruitful outcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuntuanapa, for those inspiring remarks and also the information about the cell broadcasting test coming up. We will be looking forward to it, all the colleagues in Bangkok based here. With that, I will close this side event. Thank you all for joining us, especially on the very last day of the commission. Apologies for running slightly over, but I hope you will accept our apologies with some refreshments outside. Please also do feel free to take any of our publications that are available. They're also available hard copy and soft copy. So with that, thank you again for joining us, and thank you again to the Government of India and UNESCO IOC, our partners in this work.